Hey, so I'm reading through Son of the Forest, and the point is made that the lion is older and slower to some degree. How much lesser of a fighter is the lion in 40k than 30k? So, great question. So, in the book, like there's a few things that he does say. So they do point out, he does notice that he is slower, and as a comparison to 30k, he does say, if I remember correctly, that if he'd been this slow in 30k, Kurz would have definitely killed him, right? Because Kurz was very fast and the lion was very fast, and so they had incredibly impressive combats. But the question has to be asked, how true is this? So we just spoke about Corvus Corax and the fact that when he speaks to Lorgar, he talks about how he is what they always were. He is the kind of the warp essence, warp basis now of the Primarchs. He's basically just his soul, I guess, in its essence. And so that is, the essence of what the Primarchs are, and the lion is still that. And the fact that the lion looks aged, it's definitely had a practical impact on his body, but the lion isn't just his body. His body is, in a way, the least important part of him, just like with all of us. What's in your heart is so much more important. I'm, of course, joking. What's more important is how good you are at killing people. And the lion is incredibly good at killing others, largely because of the gifts within his soul and how the Emperor created him. And it wouldn't surprise me to find out that, and this is what I hope happens, and there's a little bit of headcanon here, but I think it tracks, is that the lion that we see in his novel, Lionel Johnson, Son of the Forest, when he returns and is a bit slower, he is slower because he believes himself to be aged, and he is, of course, dealing with the grief of his planet being lost, his sons having betrayed him, his best friend having betrayed him, and that's why he's slower. And I think that once the lion comes to understand more about the Primarchs, as Corvus Corax has, I don't think you'll see this being much of an impact on him. And if anything, I don't think it will be at all. I think the main reason they actually aged Lionel Johnson when he returned is because they aged Lehman Russ. So at the end of Lehman Russ's story, before he disappears, Lehman Russ is notably aged. This is why I talk about this idea. He's kind of transitioned from Thor to Odin. He's a very mature Primarch at the end of his 30k tenure. He is very happy. He looks back on his relationship with the lion with joy. He's a much better guy. He doesn't even seek retribution against the lion, even though the lion stabbed him. And it's largely because of Russ's kind of maturity after everything he's gone through. So I think that's why they aged the lion, is so the aesthetic matches. I think that you will see most of the Primarchs looking a bit older because they can't look like the kid warrior kings that they did in the Heresy. They want it to have a different vibe. And so I think making them look older makes sense. Like, you can't bring back Lehman Russ and have him look younger than Logan Grimnar. Do you know what I mean? Not that you can't, it's just the aesthetic's a bit odd there. Do you see what I mean? The lion bemoans how old and slow he is right after absolutely flattening a room full of Chaos Space Marines. He's still up there with the best. You're right, brother. And in addition to that, he does then fight Angron in the Arcs of Omen series. And in the previous Arcs of Omen novel, Angron, with the power of Khorne flowing through him, blew up a planet. So, the lion is an incredibly strong combatant, even with the power of the Emperor helping him on his arm with the shield. And Angron is chucking tanks at him, and he's dodging it and doing all this kind of crazy stuff and attacking Angron from multiple different angles in the mist and all this kind of stuff. So he's obviously still an incredible combatant, but they're yet to properly address it. So there's bits of this that are my headcanon, but I think they're pretty reasonable. Gilliman is starting to go grey. That is true. He does talk about this in the books. It's a bit of a shame. Happens to us all, even Primarchs. So could the lion become younger again? I've heard a few times that they age based off of their perception of themselves. Kind of new to this. Yeah, so the aging based of the perception of themselves is like a bit of a headcanon. I think it's broadly speaking sort of accurate. I think that they're so psychically powerful, their physical manifestation is going to be reflected in how they view themselves. I think that is true. I don't necessarily know that it's a very easy and quick thing for them to control as such. Like, the lion was going through so much when he was visibly aged, and his body did just age, to be fair, naturally over 10,000 years. In terms of him looking younger again, perhaps that is possible. So the way I read the Corvus Corax scene, when we see Corvus Corax after the Heresy, is that he goes into the Eye of Terror, nevermore, and I think his skin sort of melted away. And so he says to Lorgar, I am what we always were. He's just what's underneath their skin. He's the core essence of the Primarchs. And so if he leaves, I will guess that he'll, psychically regrow his skin and get a new body as such. And I think the lion could, in theory, do the same. I don't think they'll do that. I don't think they need to do that. But I think mainly it's about the aesthetics. What we're building towards, right, is Games Workshop sell models, right? And so we've got Leman Russ, the Odin of Warhammer 40k, this ancient, powerful being, Spear of the Emperor. I'm going to bet all my money he has some sort of lightning abilities. And then next to him, you've got Lionel Johnson, ancient warrior king of Caliban, the monster hunter of Caliban. Think about that artwork. Think about those models. Good God, they'll make so much. They'll just make so much money because it's too cool. It's just too cool, right? So I don't think they change the aesthetic. Hope we keep it. The age thing makes sense. The lion feels old, yeah. But when will Cypher give the lion sword back? Such a good question. I think that that's likely to happen. I think part of the answer to that is, when are we going to start seeing more Primarch models? I think it's pretty likely we'll see another Guilliman model. The Guilliman model now is going to be, what, 7 years old? I think we'll see a second Guilliman model in the near future. When they released the lion, they did write this law make it very clear. The lion doesn't always use sword and shield. The lion has an array of weapons in the rock that he picks and chooses from. And so he uses different weapons all the time. So I think that you will get more lion models and more Guilliman models. And let's face it, that makes sense. They make so much money for them. Like, I would buy all of the lion models. I'm sure most Ultramarines fans will buy all the Guilliman models. You know, like, they made 2 Marnius Calgars. Marnius Calgar is a very popular character, but he is not as popular as the lion or Guilliman. So I think that, yeah, I mean, the fact that we got 2 Calgar models is kind of funny, but it tells us about Games Workshop's mentality, which is that if you guys buy these, we'll keep making them. And so, unfortunately, for us to get more Xenos, all of us have to buy far more Xenos. That's the sacrifice we have to make. So we have to buy the bad models to get better models. But hey ho. Or Games Workshop could just do us a solid and make good models, but we'll see. Guilliman was in stasis for millennia. I like to think he is aging mostly because of how everyone is getting on his nerves all of the time. Poor guy is graying from stress rather than age. I mean, to be fair, yeah, you might well be right. You might well be right. But I talk about this in a video where, you know, the lion has this conversation with a librarian and Eldar Farseer talking about this idea that people believe Guilliman's a demigod. And it doesn't matter what Guilliman believes, other people believe this about him. And so maybe the grey hair is sort of a reflection of people believing Guilliman is this ancient warrior demigod from myth. And so they assume he looks older. And so perhaps his grey hair comes from that, because people across the Imperium assume he's old because he's 10,000 years old to them. The information on Rabute Guilliman across the Imperium is going to vary in accuracy. So it wouldn't surprise me that there are billions of people who believe he's a bit older than he is.